Hi all, welcome to this belated off the post. Apologies for not having this up last week. For a few of them, picked up a couple of injuries, which was a bit unfortunate. Kind of derailed plans and so forth. And just the way it goes, we just have to go on with it. But regardless, doing a much longer version today, just to kind of cover everything that we would have covered. Namely on the Thursday, because Thursday was going to be our Premier League predictions, but also cover like the European review, transfers, all that kind of stuff. But we're still going to do that today, just a much more expanded version, because we're going to cover everything anyways, and kind of obviously maybe do a bit of preview talk on the weekend games as well. So that way everything's covered, that there's nothing missed out really, as it were. So you're welcome to chill and listen to this wherever you may be, especially if you're enjoying the nice weather. So for me, Premier League predictions, which we will start off with. My Premier League predictions haven't really changed yet. I think part of the reason why I'm going with what I am is because of form of some teams at the end of last season, and some of the teams this season, just how they look more prepared, and just how they seem to be operating under their current staff, as it were. So Man City, I have got winning the league, from in second being Liverpool. I'll explain everybody's positioning why after I've reviewed it. Tottenham third, Arsenal fourth, Chelsea fifth, Manchester United 6th, West Ham 7th, Newcastle 8th, Leicester 9th, Brighton 10th, Wolves in 11th, Aston Villa 12th, Crystal Palace 13th, Everton 14th, Brentford 15th, Leeds in 16th, Nottingham Forest in 17th, Fulham 18th, Southampton 18th, Fulham 19th, and Bournemouth in 20th. The reason why I feel Southampton, Fulham, Bournemouth will be the three that will go down, I just feel Bournemouth aren't really buying the quality needed to stay up, but also at the same time the squad, if I'm brutally honest, is still quite championship in its makeup, as it were. Like, they're a good team, there's no denying it. They've done well to get back up, but I feel parts of that squad just may not cut it in, like, the Premier League, as it were, for one reason or another. Like, they've got themselves Neto from Barca, which is going to be an interesting transfer. Like, will he be the number one? Like, you'd expect he should be, because like, Travers is good for Bournemouth, but if I'm brutally honest, I feel Neto is just a cut above. And if you're spending good money on players like him, you'd expect him to be starting. Senesi, another transfer this window. Obviously the experience of the Eredivisie with Feyenoord, but the question is, will he break into this defence? Because the defence does, like, have quite a bit of depth about it. Like Mepham, Lloyd Kelly, Ryan Fredericks, they'd be all hoping to be like, well, I should be expecting to start, and Senesi would be expecting the same. So we see how that plays out. Marcus Tavernier, Siriki, Dembele. The question is, will these players be good enough for the Premier League? It's definitely an interesting debate. Lerma, if he can stop getting all these bookings, then he might have half a chance, because he is known for getting a lot of bookings every season, regardless of what team he's at, Bournemouth, Levante and so forth. Ryan Christie, he'll be hoping that his transfer from Celtic to Bournemouth proves dividends, and that he can kind of do business in the Prem. Marcondes is an interesting one, because obviously he's been around the Championship and gets a crack at the Premiership. Will he get enough game time? Like Kiefer Moore and Solanke, there's going to be an expectation that they both can get the goals. Philip Billing shoring up the midfield, but it's going to be and players like Brooks and Lewis Cook, see how those obviously do with their own seasons. I think, if I'm brutally honest, Bournemouth's teams like just mostly championship level, like top end. It's just maybe might lack a little bit in the Prem, but they'll give it a good bash nonetheless. That's the way I would look at it. Fulham, I just don't really see where they like Fulham. For me, I just feel like, yes, they looked impressive against Liverpool, but the problem is it's like first game of the season, but they've also maybe turned up for it. So it's, you might say to yourself, well, that's them turned up. Will they actually do anything? That's the difference. Because they've brought in like Leno, but they started Rodak, and if I was Leno right away, I'd be saying, so, well, I've just signed for this team and I'm not going to start. And if I'm Gazzaniga as well, it's like they've got two half decent goalies that and I would say to myself, well, if I was both of these players, I'd be saying, well, why am I not getting a start, as it were, for Fulham? Like, I know obviously you can only start one, but both would be saying, well, I should be starting, not him. Like Tete, Adarabayo, Shane Duffy, else? Like Tete, Duffy, Wilson, Mitrovic, Kearney. Like most of this team's got Prem experience when you break it down. Like Palinia and Babu don't really, because obviously they've been playing in Portugal and Germany and Switzerland respectively. But like, I still have a lot of doubts with this Fulham side that's not really been improved much. Like, if they're relying on the likes of Duffy, Solomon, and Babu Polinia to kind of get the team up there, as it were, just to stay up at least, then like, you just have doubts about it, really, because like, I know like everyone's going to think, oh, Mitrovic is going to score like 20 goals this season after breaking the championship record last season. There's not a gimme. It's not a gimme whatsoever. So it's like, give it. You've got to think about it, really, like realistically at the end of the day. But see what happens and take it from there. The reason why Southampton have got third bottom is everyone's just trying to pick apart that team, like slowly. Like, yes, they've been established now for pretty much like the last decade. But I think this could be the season that they finally may go down for one reason or another. And the reason why I say that is, like, as much as they've got good like players and parts, like Kyle Walker-Peters is shown to be a half decent defender. Like James Ward-Prowse is pretty much like, you put him on set pieces, you genuinely feel like he's going to score. So you've got that kind of area, and then like you feel quite happy with the likes of like Che Adams, Romeo, Stuart Armstrong when he's consistent, Bednarak when he's not conceding 9, I suppose. But like, and you just say to yourself, and like Salisu's not too bad either, really, in parts, and like the team's got depth, like good depth in like terms of its goalies, with Bazunu and McCarthy and Willie Caballero. But then they've also got like the defence, like decent defensive depth. Like Aribo will be interesting to see how he does in the Prem. Then obviously, but where obviously everyone's picked up on the lack is their forwards. Like, where they, like Adam Armstrong's not really done the business. Che Adams may get you 10 goals, but then who else is going to get them goals? Like Gineppo, Redmond, Sikumara, El Yunusi. like Ward-Prowse and Che Adams are pretty much the only two that are getting them goals. Yes, maybe defensively they'll get a few goals off of like Walker-Peters, but you've got to question where they're going to get goals from. That's what it comes down to for Southampton's case. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm leaning towards and why I feel that mindset, at least anyways. Like Nottingham Forest, the reason why I think they'll stay up is only because they, as much as the team is very still quite championship in its design, they have spent a lot of money to say, right, we're going to give this a good go, let's see what we can do with this team, simply so that they can say, right, like what do we, like they've looked at it and said, right, what can we, like where do we need to improve, and we've said, right, let's get a good goalie. They've went out and got Dean Henderson. They said, right, let's get improving at the back. They've went out and got Moussa Niakat from Mainz, which should be a shrewd bit of business. Yes, they've went into the Championship quite a bit, and technically Premiership getting like Nico Williams, but they've also looked at like Lewis O'Brien, they've looked at like Huddersfield to kind of like pinch a few of their players. Lingard will obviously have a point to prove. Omar Richards obviously from Bayern, didn't get too much game time there, but he'll be looking to say, well, I've came back to England, I want to be playing in the Prem, and I want to do my bit. Orel Mangala from Stuttgart, shrewd bit of business, see how he can hold up. Tayo Awonyi from Union Berlin, one of the top scorers in the Bundesliga last season, and that's the kind of business you might say, so well, they're definitely trying to go for it. And I feel that's like the problem is there's maybe a lot of unproven players that for say the Prem in their case. That's why I think whereas Southampton have the team, Portsmouth, Nottingham Forest don't, as it were. I love if I say Portsmouth. Yeah, that's 2 divisions down G. But what you find is players like, there's parts of that team where it's not Prem good at, like Brennan Johnson, they'll be expecting a lot of hype to help him say like come on, we want you to get like 20, like 10, 15 goals. That's what they're going to need. And the thing is, they're going to say to themselves, well, there's players in this squad as well that we kind of do need to offload, because there's players in this team that are still Championship like level players, maybe like a Lyle Taylor, Jack Colback, maybe Mbeso, I suppose, and there's definitely work to be done with the team at the end of the day. So they've got to think out their strategy and see how they progress it from there. Leeds, I just feel they'll just go about their business. I like they, for me, I would say it's one of these teams where it's like I don't see them being worried about relegation. I feel they've got the team capable of it. I think it comes down to will they go much higher than say 15th, 16th. They've not to worry about like second season syndrome or that now. They're established, and with players like Tyler Adams and Brendan Aronson in the squad, it'll certainly make for like interesting viewing how they do. Sinistera as well from Feyenoord. So they've definitely tried to improve in parts that like Leeds have felt it's necessary to improve, but obviously at the same time, is it enough to get up the table? Like Mark Rock as well. But for me personally, I feel they just need another half decent forward. Where they get that from is the interesting part. Because obviously Sinister is a winger. Rodrigo's not really providing the goals. Bamford, people will obviously have concerns about as well. Because obviously coming back from injury. But we'll see. We see how that one plays out. From there, Brentford, same as well. I feel they'll be fine. Nothing to really worry about when it comes to Brentford. Second season syndrome will be the aim of the day. Yes, they finished 13th and very impressive. Second half of the season, a lot of that good form came down to Eriksen. So it is worth saying, well, if Eriksen helped produce a bit of that form, how do they handle it this season? And they've tried to say, right, well, we lost Christian Eriksen, but we've said, right, where do we feel like we needed to improve? They've went out and got Aaron Hickey, they've went out and got Ben Mee. They've said to themselves, we're making a bit of ambition here. Then they went and got like Keane, Lewis Potter, went out and got Thomas Strakosha from Lazio. So they've definitely thought, we're not mucking about here. We're trying to improve this team to say, right, we don't want to be a one season wonder, we want to be in here as an established outfit in the Prem. That's what they want to look at. And they're certainly going to give it a good go, and I feel they can. I certainly feel they've got the squad capable of it. It's just a case of obviously getting form to go their way. If they can get a good first half of the season, it'll make all the difference really at the end of the day. Everton, it's just a question of how they do under Lampard. Like, there's a lot of holes to fix in the squad, losing like Richarlison and everything else that's been going on, and that's where it's in Everton's case. Could they be in a relegation battle, or could they be bottom half of the table in a safe spot? And that's kind of, like, initially I did kind of think Brentford and Leeds. I even pondered Brentford and Leeds being up one spot and Everton being down two, but it's definitely one to keep in mind, I suppose, at the end of the day. Crystal Palace, I just feel they'll do generally enough, nothing too exciting, if I'm brutally honest, but I think that's just because of where they'll finish in the table. Vieira will just go about his business really, and I don't really, if I was a Crystal Palace fan personally, I wouldn't overly be worried, but that's just obviously my views. Aston Villa is an interesting one, because this is where Gerrard's full season should kind of show what is he capable of, and is he going to cut it, because I feel if he's not, then they are in a relegation battle. How will he adjust? How will he be able to adapt to it? But Aston Villa, I feel, have a strong enough squad to be safe, but I know that a lot of predictions have like Villa being like a top half side this season. I just don't feel they will be, personally. I feel there's still gaps in it, despite being very ambitious in the summer window, but they were like that like last season and that, and folk were like, oh my god, this Aston Villa team has been very impressive with its signings. So you've got to think they need time to bed in, so got to remember that. Wolves, I don't feel they're going to be like last season. They looked good for like a European spot, and then they drifted off. I partly feel that's going to happen again this season, but what I mean is that they'll drift off maybe first half of the season and rebound in the second half. But Wolves should be fine, but there's certainly some questions to be had with the team, because they could have easily been fighting for a European spot last season, and I think the owners are expecting maybe Europe, so maybe Ligue has got to kind of get his finger out on that. Brighton could be definitely contenders for a European spot. There's no denying it. I feel this season. I feel Graham Potter's going to really get this team challenging. And well, yes, they've lost like Bissouma, they've lost Cucurella, they've definitely lost players. I would say they are certainly capable of not just like top half. There is certainly potential for that, as I said, that 7th or 8th spot, because they've definitely got like not best quality in the league, but what Potter uses with the squad, they believe in what he sets out with the squad, and that's what makes all the difference. And like Matoma, Undav and Kozlowski will certainly be three interesting players this season, mainly because of Union St. Galois. Like Undav and Matoma know each other, they'll know each other's mindset and play especially, and that could make all the difference in terms of how they kind of go about it really. And I would say if they can start off well, then there's certainly potential for them to say, right, they could get themselves into the like not just the top half, but also fighting for a European spot. There'll definitely be ambition for it. It's just a case of where it happens or not really. Because I feel there's certainly scope for it to happen, but I suppose it's like they got 9th obviously last season, and there's certainly potential for them to do better. I know I've got them 10th, but I genuinely feel it's going to be, I think Newcastle's dictating it for quite a few folk. But from there we move over to Leicester. For me, I feel they will certainly be challenging probably for still a European spot. I feel Rodgers, despite all the hangover problems that they had last season, with like the European journeys, and obviously the last couple of seasons that they've bottled European Champions League football, that's no denying it, nobody can deny that. But this season, I feel that they've got nothing to really focus on, and they'll just look to say, right, let's dust ourselves down and let's just go and have a good season. If we can get into Europe, great. If not, then but they've got to realise that the squad's under a bit of threat as well, with like Vardy, Maddison, Tielemans, Fofana, Schmeichel going. The squad's starting to get taken apart, and that could play a factor. But we'll see how it goes, and obviously just a case of keep our eyes peeled really. Obviously with Newcastle, they're going to be the interesting one. Will they get 8th? Will they get European football? Will they get top 6? All that kind of stuff. And I feel 8th is maybe the most realistic, but at the same time I do have doubts about it. I won't deny, but I still feel they're definitely a top half. There's definitely now an expectation that they're a top half side, only because obviously the ownership, but yeah, they should definitely be comfortable for 8th. Like from here, West Ham, I feel under Moyes they seem to be very consistent, and they've been very shrewd again in the window. Obviously being interesting with who they're trying to get out, like Vlasic and all that kind of stuff. And I generally feel like West Ham should be good for like 7th, but they may have the European hangover problem again. That's the only thing that could go against them a little bit. But I feel they are certainly having like the depth that they can compete domestically and in Europe. I think there's an expectation that they could maybe even go for like one of the cups this season, whether it be the League Cup or the FA Cup. There's maybe that expectation this season, but we'll see how that one plays out. Man United, obviously, it's going to be questionable regardless where they could finish. Could be 6th, could be whatever. Last season was obviously their worst season for points and all that kind of stuff, and they'll have the Conference League, but there is still a lot of question marks to be asked about it. And if I'm honest, I feel that's where everyone's unsure, because obviously this transfer window has become a farce, whether it be from Rabiot, Arnautovic, De Jong, whoever else that they've been kind of linked with. It's like it's not really happening. Anthony, everything just drags out. It's like there's no it's no consistency. But it's like if I was a manager coming into a club and I'm saying, well, I want these 6 to 8 players, but I want these 6 to 8 gone, and it's not happening. You say to yourself, well, why am I not getting? If I'm not getting supported, then I'd almost start to then question, like, why am I here? If you're not going to back me, then you clearly don't have faith in me. That's the way I would look at it. I'd be like, I'm not here. You'd say I'm not here to work with the rubbish that's been letting the side down for years, for example. If a team's not performing, and you get the argument, oh, it should be a clean slate. But if they've had a clean slate with about 5 different, they've had that many managers since Fergie's left. They've had that many squad changes and everything else. You say to yourself, well, what's the Is it the squad? Is it the managers? Is it just what is it? There's a lot of there's more questions than answers, if I'm brutally honest. But see how that one goes. Chelsea's going to be an interesting one with no Lukaku or Werner. But Chelsea might be trying to rely on Sterling for most of their goals, maybe Mount and that to maybe step up this season as well, even more. But I feel Chelsea will finish 5th, and I feel like Arsenal, Tottenham 4th and 3rd. Arsenal, I feel at the moment look encouraging, and I think that's the way to look at it. There's some folk might think, oh, Arsenal and Tottenham, they could legitimately maybe break the stranglehold for 2nd, but and then some people will have Arsenal and Tottenham potentially could even upset Man City. The problem is Man City and Liverpool are generally more consistent than say Tottenham and Arsenal. I feel Tottenham and Arsenal, what lets them down is maybe your games against we'll say a Leeds or a Fulham or a Bournemouth. Like what Liverpool did at the weekend against Fulham, they just weren't consistent. Liverpool had an off day and they can't afford it, whereas Tottenham and Arsenal have maybe just one or too many off days. That's all it is. But I feel maybe under Conte for Tottenham this season, they genuinely could push maybe into maybe 2nd. But there is some people thinking that Tottenham could genuinely win the league. There is that honestly belief because they've got Kane, Son, they've brought in depth all over. It's unbelievable that they feel like Tottenham could legitimately make a statement here, from top to bottom. Fair play to assume that, but you've got to remember at the same time that the team, while it's still got a lot of its core players from Lloris, Son, Kane, but the problem is when you've got your core, even though you've got Christian Romero as well, who's proven at the back, they've tried to bring in bits with Richarlison, Perisic. They've really tried, even an extra addition with Fraser Forster at the back. And Langley as well at the back. The problem is they've still got, if I'm honest, weaknesses in the team that could maybe hamper their
consistency,
because there is Reguilon, I believe it's Reguilon, Skip, Brangill, there's quite a few players that's been touted for going, but even though Basuma and Jed Spence, they'll be hoping to do well with them. It's and Lascelles another one potentially going. It's you can only do so much with what you have, and I feel that's where Conte's going to try his hardest with the squad he's got. It's just they've all got to kind of play to that system. Liverpool, I feel, will be 2nd. I feel they've got a trophy in them again this season. They missed out on the quadruple, and Man City, all eyes will be on them, not just for the league, but will they finally win the European Cup? That is what it comes down to for them. So yeah, that's my Premier League predictions. From there, we'll delve into like the review of like the football in general over the weekend. Obviously, like the biggest shock, if I'm honest, at the weekend was really just kind of like how poor Man United were. That's kind of like, from a Premier League perspective, that was kind of the shocking result. If you're a European fan, obviously all the European games were mostly played last night, because obviously tonight is when the Super Cup happens. The reason why Guimarães and Hajduk Split have to play tonight is because of I believe there should be another Portuguese game within the timeline somewhere, and like sometimes like a usual rule that kicks about is if there's like two, like say teams from like the same league that just so happen to have drawn it, like say home in the same game week, they have to like play say like one on like one night and then one another. But I think in this case, when I've looked over all the fixtures, for what I saw, I thought I could swear that there's nothing really like, I didn't really see anything that would suggest that. So I think I could be wrong, but like most of the Portuguese teams, I've spotted it. It was because of Riga, sorry. So they had to make sure that one of the games was played. I found it, so strange. But yeah, Guimarães Hajduk Split obviously are this afternoon. But standout results, obviously Bodo Glimt breezed through. Maccabi Haifa, despite losing the second leg 2-0, had done the damage in the first leg, winning 4-0. They were a bit shambolic in the second leg. Pleasend got past Sheriff. Sheriff probably might have felt they could have maybe done better, but I think some teams are maybe a bit more prepared for them now. But just the way it goes. Red Star or Crvena Zvezda, they were pretty comfortable. I think they might be not too bad for maybe getting in. Benfica breezed through. Dinamo Zagreb breezed through despite Ludogorets finishing with 8 men. Qarabag breezed through. PSV in Monaco was a great game. That was went in extra time after 120 minutes. Sturm Graz did all the hard work in 90 minutes, managing to force the game into extra time. They were very unlucky to not win it in the 90 minutes, but they kind of threw it away in extra time. They let themselves down, and it was their own fault really in the end, which was their own fault because they had a real chance of potentially getting through. Rangers, after the shambolic game last week, they showed their class this week, breezing through 3-0. Fair play to Tillman, Kolak and Tavernier. Shamrock Rovers doing the business. Fair play that another Irish team could be I don't see them getting through to the Europa League, but they will make the Conference League. So fair play that there's going to be maybe a League of Ireland team in Europe till December. So it's like, and Shamrock Rovers can then say, well, we're the first team to qualify for the Europa League. We're now going to be the first maybe League of Ireland team to compete in the Conference League. And then obviously Gazira will feel really disheartened after holding Wolfsberger 0-0 in Austria, but then completely getting hammered 4-0 in Malta. And I mean completely hammered. It was a massacre. It was just unbelievable. Viborg breezed past Torshavn, which was kind of expected, but I would say going into the playoffs, I feel Rangers may just do enough over PSV, but obviously you've got to remember there's the League route and the Champions route. So I feel Pleasant over Qarabag, Dinamo Zagreb maybe over Bodo, but I'm sure both are capable of going through. Red Star I feel just over Maccabi Haifa. Trabzonspor should breeze through Copenhagen, if I'm brutally honest. But Copenhagen are trying to be shrewd with their business. Benfica I feel will do just enough over Dynamo Kiev. And Rangers should do just enough over PSV. Then, as we said, Shamrock Rovers obviously Ferencvaros in their playoff tie. But then obviously for the likes of Wolfsberger and Viborg, they have to do a bit of waiting, because obviously they've got to rely on Thursday night's games to kind of determine who goes through. Hajduk Split I didn't initially anticipate would beat Guimarães so comfortably in the first leg, but is what it is. Real Madrid I feel will breeze through Eintracht Frankfurt, if I'm honest, for the second leg. Try that again. And over the game tonight, sorry, it's like obviously like live on like BT and whatnot. But yeah, Real Madrid will beat Frankfurt. There was talk of making it like a 2-leg or round, not necessarily like a round robin, but like a competition where it was like Champions League, Europa League, Conference League, and something else. I think like maybe like the previous season's winners of like the Super Cup or something. Which could be interesting, because then you would have said, well, this is what you've got, and it makes like a competition, so it's like just a straight knockout, I suppose. But see how it goes. I suppose they're just talking about it because it's just a way to maybe bring more money in and try and make the competition feel a bit more worthwhile. Europa League, HJK Helsinki, I didn't expect them to breeze through Maribor so comfortably, but they did, and I feel they'll get through them in the second leg. Fenerbahce should breeze through, Zurich will breeze through Linfield, Malmo should get through Dudelange. Olympiacos were pretty awful against Slovan Bratislava. It was 1-1 in the first leg. Olympiacos, just for whatever reason this season in Europe, seem to be really, really bad. Like domestically they always breeze through it, but yeah, they're really struggling this season. So there's certainly questions to be asked there. And then Larnaca, Partizan Belgrade. I personally thought Partizan would breeze through, but Larnaca certainly making hard, showing a good bit of strength. But I still feel Partizan may do just enough in Serbia. Conference League, there's tons and tons and tons of games, obviously, because quite a lot of that is just to get broken down. Like realistically, when you like, I'll go through all the games. Apoel I feel will beat Kaiserslautern. Zorzinski may just beat Tobol. Rakov should beat Turnova. Basel Brøndby is an interesting one, because you naturally assume both of them would be like Basel near Champions League, Brøndby at least the Europa League, but they're fighting in Conference League. But I still feel Basel may do just enough in that one. Cluj and Shakhtar Sologorsk, I feel Cluj will do just enough, despite both teams being quite equal in their abilities. Deutschgarten should breeze through Sepsi, St George. Hapoel Beersheva should get past Lugano. Konyaspor will breeze past Vaduz, I would assume, but Vaduz have shown this season in Europe to be quite a shrewd opposition. Konyaspor not as good as I personally feel. Ferevev should get past Moldova, Moldovan outfit Pedro Club. 20 should get past Kurariki. Antwerp should get past Lillestrøm. Steaua Bucharest should do just enough over Streda. Panathinaikos, Slavia Prague. You're so used to Slavia Prague maybe being even fighting for Champions League, but not this season. They're in the Europa League, and I feel they'll do just enough. Craiova, Zorya Luhansk. I feel Luhansk experience will shine there. Istanbul Besiktas will get through. Anderlecht should get through. Maccabi Tel Aviv's experience should show through. Hibernian I feel may do just enough against RFS. Both teams are about the same level, and I feel the home advantage may do just enough to see them get through. Klaksvik and Balkani. Klaksvik are known to be half decent in the Faro League, but I feel they may just come short against Balkani. But because it's Faroes Kosovo, they're both about the same level, 3-2, but I feel the home advantage may just do enough in the leg but will it be enough to get the tie? That's the question. Levski Sofia Hamrun, I'd say Levski Sofia should do just enough. Shkenja and AIK should do just enough, but Shkenja are very they seem to be a team that's always regularly in the qualifiers. Sligo Viking, that's pretty academic, that's Viking. Surprise tie result of the last week was Viking Gur Reykjavik beating Lech Poznan 1-0. Poznan sit bottom of the league at the moment, and Poznan, a lot of folk thought might be even getting in the Champions League, not to be, and I feel that Viking Gur are just going to have to really hold up defensively, but I feel Lech Poznan will make an example here and do just enough. Rapid Vienna, they've got to buck up their ideas as well, because they lost to Nefti Baku 2-1 in Azerbaijan, but I feel home advantage may do just enough there, and they've got a good squad that should be challenging for not necessarily the league title, but up there regardless. St Pat's, they're holding a 1-0 lead against CSK Sofia, which a lot of people would never have anticipated, and if St Patrick's can do it again, fair play. They've done the hard work in Bulgaria. If the crowd will G them up, that's what's going to hopefully help St Pat's, because then they're one game away, they're one round away from Europe, and then they've suddenly got two teams at least potentially in Ireland and Europe, which is unprecedented till December, especially when you think of like Dundalk and Shamrock Rovers have done it previously. AZ Alkmaar, Dundee United, if the Alkmaar show up last week against Dundee United should do enough, but Dundee United were awful at the weekend. They were awful on Sunday, and that's going to be an interesting one. I feel Alkmaar should do enough, but Dundee United may just hold out. But at the same time, I didn't expect Dundee United to get a result. I genuinely thought it would be like a 5-0 aggregate scoreline over the two legs. Gil Vicente and Riga, 1-1 from the first leg, and I feel Gil Vicente should do just enough. Molde should do enough against Kisvarda, and Young Boys should breeze past Cups. Young Boys we would not normally associate to be in this competition, but obviously that's how last season played out for them. In terms of from there, like the leagues, it's like obviously the early kick-off on Saturday for the Premiership is Aston Villa Everton. Late kick-off is Brentford Manchester United. If you're a Super 6 fan, we'll delve into that probably on like say Saturday, like Friday, Saturday. Like for me personally, I am thinking at the moment for like this round, Man City should be comfortable, Arsenal should be comfortable, Leeds should do enough. Brentford could get a result against Man United, especially at home. West Ham should get a result against Nottingham Forest. Chelsea Tottenham is obviously the last game, and I think if I'm brutally honest, I think at the moment Tottenham's maybe the result to kind of swing by for that one. Like, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Like, if you're a Super 6 fan, then fair play. Obviously it's worth noting that 4 games are Saturday and 2 games are Sunday, so you've got to keep that one in mind. They're not using all the 3 o'clock kickoffs. Brighton Newcastle is going to be an interesting one, because obviously how do Brighton fare after getting a result against Newcastle, Manchester United, and then how do they fare against a team like a Newcastle. Scotland, obviously Hibs got a vital draw against Hearts in the end with Martin Boyle, but obviously a lot of the leagues are starting to come back. Pretty much every league's now near enough back, like La Liga, Serie A, Bundesliga, Ligue and everything's kind of now back in full force. It's good. It'll be good to see, and everything. It just allows you to just be like, oh, there's like no shortage of football like any time of the day now. Again, it's like it's great. You've got nothing to really worry about. You can say to yourself, oh, I can watch. You can watch Freiburg and Dortmund, but you can watch Nantes and Lille, and like if I'm honest, this season, when you break down some of the leagues like La Liga and Serie A, Mallorca's a team I keep an eye on. How will they fare? Will they have second season syndrome? Turkish League's another interesting one as well, because obviously will Trabzonspor do the business, and with Serie A, I feel this is the most open title race in years for a lot of reasons. But yeah, going briefly with La Liga, will Sevilla Atletico challenge for the title, make it a 4-horse race with Barca and Real? What situations will happen with Barcelona with all their signings, all the money owed, everything that's going on? It's just unbelievable. Like, Barcelona is just like something else. And like, how will the promoted teams like Girona, Valladolid and Almeria hold up, whereas like the experienced teams like teams like Cadiz, Elche, Osasuna, Espanyol, even Mallorca, like how Rayo Vallecano, how will some of these teams kind of like hold up this season, in terms of like trying to stay up but also fight for maybe like a European spot. Like with the Turkish League, obviously, like this season it'll be assumed that like Istanbul, Besiktas, Galatasaray, Besiktas, Fenerbahce, Trabzonspor will be like your top 5. It'll be like a 5-horse race. It's then just a question of where does everyone else kind of fit into it, really. Who goes up, who goes down, and will any like the newer teams challenges it will, like Istanbul, Spor, Umraspor. It will be interesting to see how some of these kind of like teams hold up. And obviously, as we said, with Italy, the biggest thing that's like on everyone's lips is like with Juve, will they challenge for the title this season, or will they finish like a 3rd, 4th this season again? Because that's what's kind of like assumed may happen again this season. And Monza's the interesting one, because obviously them coming up, along with Cremons and Lecce. But for me personally, I feel like Napoli or Roma, Inter, Juventus, AC Milan, even you could add on and Lazio certainly, we'll have a discussion on it as well. Like Atalanta, maybe not as strong as previous seasons, because obviously it's not like Papu Gomez, Ilicic isn't in firing form. Like Zapata, Muriel will try and do their best, but like some of their transfers has not maybe been as hopeful as they would like. So Atalanta, could they be challenging for like 7th or 8th this season? You never know. And like, if I'm brutally honest, I think a lot of folk think Roma could win the league. Some folk think Inter and AC Milan, Juventus could be there for the taking. Like, Roma just needs to be consistent. That's all it is. That's pretty much bread and butter. Obviously, they won the Conference League. They've got obviously all like their European journeys to focus on this season, and yeah, I genuinely think this season could be like an interesting one. If I was to be brutally honest, for like a Serie A predictions, and I've said this to quite a few people, I've got Roma winning the league at the moment, and I'm still kind of sticking by that, just because of like their business. I've got Inter finishing 2nd, AC Milan for Juventus 4th. That's my kind of like top 4 that will happen. Napoli will finish 5th. I've got Lazio 6th, Atalanta 7th. That's like I feel that's quite a strong top 7. Like, from there, it then becomes a case of where does Sassuolo finish, where does Fiorentina finish, where does Hellas Verona finish, Torino. Like, if I'm honest, the 3 that I feel that will go down are Lecce, Spezia, Cremons. But Salernitana definitely are up for debate for going down again. But they did like the Great Escape and it's certainly going to be an interesting one. Like, I think Italy could be the league to watch this season. It's just a case of how everyone performs, obviously, this season. Will we get what we expect, as it were? And obviously with Scotland, as we've mentioned very early on, obviously Celtic and Rangers 2 from 2, Hearts and Hibs both drew. I feel Hibs personally may get a result against Livingston, but they definitely do have questions. Like, Hibs have certainly going to have questions to be asked. Like, Boyle's great. It'll be an interesting seasons for, like, obviously if you're a domestic fan in Scotland to obviously abroad as well. But I'm hopeful that we see the results that we hope for. Obviously, as we've mentioned in like our socials, we'll delve into like So Rare and like Super 6. We'll maybe cover like So Rare and Super 6 together, like all these kind of prediction things, because they all kind of like fall all under the same umbrella. So it allows people to keep an eye on and say, oh, that's their Super 6 prediction, here's the So Rare squads and all that kind of stuff. So it just gives people an idea of where our like mindset is with different things. So we'll definitely delve into them as well and individual stuff. But as I said, let me know your thoughts on if your team's now finally getting its game underway, or how your team's been performing so far. Let me know on that. It'd be quite good to know what your team's been obviously doing. So from there, we're going to obviously delve into transfers. Like, there's been quite a few interesting transfers over generally like the last week. Cyril Dessers, nearly £6 million to Cremons from Genk. Like, obviously did well for Feyenoord last season, but I didn't expect him. I thought he might be made permanent to Feyenoord, but not to be. But Cremons have basically stumped up near £6 million for him, so fair play. And Cremons as well brought in Lotros Field from Wolfsberger, so certainly taking apart that team. Genk in return have went to Argentinos Juniors for 5.4 for Matthias Galazar. Bupenza went from the Qatari League to the Saudi League. Obviously he was scoring goals for fun for Haitari Sport, and then just completely disappeared. I never even knew he'd left Haitari Sport to go to the Qatari League. But yeah, that's quite an interesting one, how that's played out. Joe, the veteran forward that used to play for Man City in Japan and that, he's now went from Corinthians to Sierra. Jack Simpson's obviously went to Cardiff from Rangers. Timo Werner's obviously went back to Leipzig for 18 million, so I would say Leipzig's definitely got the better end of the draw there, is what it is. Sergio Ruiz has went to Granada from Charlotte for 900,000. Hernani has gone to Rio Ave from Las Palmas. Escalante's went to Cremons on a loan, so that will be a bit of interesting business there. Carlos Perez has went to Celta from Roma. Amadou Onana, 32.4 million to Everton. That is just a big fee. That's just kind of mental. I don't feel he's worth that kind of money, personally. And I feel Everton's going to get stung possibly very, very hard. Ozdemir's went from Trabzonspor to Ettifaq for 2.2 million. Like, you win the league with Trabzonspor, oh, let's go to Saudi League. Sure. It's interesting bit of business. Matt Ryan's went to Copenhagen from Sociedad for 450. I can maybe see why, because like Remero's kind of like the main goalie. Rasmus Carstenson's went from Silkeborg to Genk for 2.7. Robles to Leeds from Real Betis on a free transfer. It gives them depth with goalies for Meslier as well. Providel's went to Lazio from Spezia. Providel's been proven for Spezia to be a half decent goalie, so that will certainly do well. Tabata has gone from Sporting to Palmeiras for 4.5. Marcus Lopez to Feyenoord for 1.8. They've been very shrewd with their business, Feyenoord. They're certainly try to fill in every area of their squad to be competitive domestically, but also for looks like Europe as well. Connor Cody on loan to Everton, which I was not expecting from Wolves, but if he doesn't fit Laga's system, which is a bit odd because I feel he's consistent enough, but is what it is. Guedes for nearly £30 million to Wolves from Valencia. Alex Granel gone from Bolivar to Lommel, which is an interesting transfer. That was one that caught my eye. I was like, really? Like Alex Granel? But I forgot that he is 34. Dries Mertens gone from Napoli to Galatasaray on a free transfer. Joining Galatasaray as well as Lucas Torreira for 5.4 million. Modeste has joined Dortmund for 4.5 from Cologne, which I wasn't expecting, but each to their own, I suppose. I think there's some people thinking, well, really, but they've done this because of Haller, so they've just tried to get an hour forward in sharp. Hans Schuck Hong's joined Ghent from LSK Linz for 1.35 million. Edu Expositos went from Eibar to Espanyol for 4 million. Angelino's on loan to Hoffenheim from Leipzig. Gonzalo Villar joined Sampdoria from Roma. Senesi's went to Bournemouth from Feyenoord for 13.5 million. And then also Chilison has joined Nek Nemijin for 900,000. Ilkan, young Turkish player, went from Besiktas to Torino for 4 million. When you break it down, it's unbelievable transfers. A-League has got another half decent signing in Robert Mack. He's joined Sydney. Sergio Romero went from Venezia to Boca Juniors. Diafra Sacco, who played for AS Arta Solar 7. If you know the Djiboutian League and about Solar 7, so interesting. If there's a few videos on it actually from different people and articles. He's went to AS Nancy, who are now in the third tier of French football. Haider Costas went to Al Ittihad from Leeds. Bit of business there. Jurgen Elkenkamp has joined Royal Antwerp for 4.5 million from Herfer. Martin Boyle, obviously, as we mentioned, went back from Al Fazali to Hibs, and he said that he would like to just finish up his career. It is like a 4-year deal, I believe. Well, it's free with a year extension, but near enough a 4-year deal. Tanas has went to Al Jazeera, 2.7 from Steaua Bucharest. If I'm honest, Tanas could have went to a better league for ability, because he's a half decent. He's proven in the last couple of seasons to be half decent in the league. I thought he might have went somewhere else to prove his worth. Neto's joined Bournemouth, as we mentioned in our Premier League predictions. Sam Lammers has joined Empoli from Atalanta. He's just going everywhere now. He's just not really kicked on as maybe expected. Isco has gone to Sevilla from Real Madrid. Andrea Poli is now a free agent. Melendo's joined Granada on a free transfer from Espanyol, which I wasn't expecting, but I suppose is what it is. Paciencia has joined Celta Vigo from Eintracht Frankfurt. Bezos has joined Ammonia on a free transfer from Ghent. Lautaro Blanco's joined Elche for nearly £2 million from Rosario. Al Soma has joined the Qatari League with Al Arabi, so if you're a FIFA fan, you might not have an Al Soma fervour. This was one transfer that caught my eye initially, and then I realised Oliver Till is a free agent from Vorskla Poltava. Yes, he may be a Luxembourg player, but it was someone I thought, with him now being a free agent, Hibs will get him. And then I forgot he was injured till the end of the year. Likely not back till 2023, but is what is. Nuno da Costas went from Nottingham Forest to Auxerre. Aaron Ramsey, not that one, he's at Nice, in case you're wondering. Pelly has, not that Pelly, he's joined Famalasio from Monaco. Vertu has joined Marseille for nearly 10 million. Benteke has managed to go to DC United for nearly £5 million from Crystal Palace. How Crystal Palace have got £5 million for Benteke is fair play leagues. I would never have said that in a million years. Fran Meridas went out to Chinese Super League with Jinmen Tiger. I think it's Teams 1 Jinmen Tiger. Miguel Gutierrez has joined Girona for 3.6 million. Mender Garcia has joined Minnesota for 1.6. Maxwell Corney, 18 million for West Ham from Burnley. Then obviously like there's so many transfers that we've kind of like hadn't even delved into, and that kind of just shows where we're at. Gino Wijnaldum's obviously joined Roma on loan. Zubkov's joined Shakhtar Donetsk from Ferencvaros, probably one of their better players. Nahuel Bustos went from Man City to Sao Paulo. That's one of those players that you'd be like, I didn't even know he was at Man City, but that's why I've brought it up. Lucas Klunter's joined Arminia Bielefeld from Hertha Berlin. Vincent Till, the brother of that we mentioned prior, that went it was at Vorskla, he's went to AIK on loan. Kukurea's nearly 60 million transfer from Brent to Chelsea. Shane Duffy to Fulham. There's, I think I've got any others that I've not really delved into. Jordan Larson joined Schalke on a free transfer. Like, he could have went anywhere, and I feel Schalke's just, if I'm honest, like every team that was supposedly interested in, why have they not like got what's put them off? That's where it comes down to on that basis. Dennis Bouanga gone from St Etienne to LAFC for 4 million. Honestly, the MLS is suddenly getting so many players, it's unbelievable. Ademola Lookman, 8 million from Leipzig to Atalanta. I just can't justify 8 million from. He's just had more teams and more clubs than I know what to do with. Jorge Mears joined Mazatlan on a loan transfer. Sidsley, that used to play for Dynamo Kiev, he's now went to Cuba in the Brazilian League. Nuno Santos has went from Benfica to Charlotte for 900,000. As I said, that honestly, MLS is going mad. Matt Maizagas joined Cincinnati on a free transfer. Deverson used to play in Europe. He went from Palmeiras to Cuba. Ramiro Funes Mori, not Rogelo, but he's went from Al Nassr to Cruz Azul. I thought he might have joined his brother, if I'm honest, but is what it is. And Ricky Puig is kind of like the last. No, I tell you lie, there's more to delve. Ricky Puig's obviously joined LA Galaxy. That was obviously like last week. Renato Sanchez as well was last week. But these were ones we would have mentioned last week if we were doing it. But I thought it might as well round you up anyway. 13.5 million Renato went for. Roger, 2.7. And went from Levante to Elche. Alex Telles to Sevilla on loan. Moises gone from the Brazilian League over to Russia with CSK Moscow. Each their own, I suppose. Like Omar Carbon joined Shabab Dubai. He was one of the Player of the Years once in the Saudi League, and he's just never really kicked on. Really, he's just kind of jumped around the leagues. Karel Eating used to play for Ajax, went from Huddersfield to Volendam. German Sanchez, Granada to Racing. Ismailis went to Lille on a free transfer, which is an interesting bit of business. Joseph Soon to Walsik from Quevilly Rouen, used to play in England. And then the last kind of big notable transfer I've got here, or two actually, is Alberti Velicki, Salzburg to St Gallen. Velicki, I think I had a bit of expectation it was maybe a good right back for in the Austrian League, but not to be. He went to St Gallen for nearly £1 million. And Carney Chuck Wimiki joined Chelsea for 16.2 million. So that's kind of near enough all our transfers designed and delved into. Feel there's nothing really else. And Ricardo Goulart, I missed him. He was the last on my list. Santos to Bahia, obviously used to play in the Chinese league. But yeah, there's been a lot of transfers over the last week that's kind of taken notice. There's still a lot to happen. They're touted, but where they happen or not is a different matter. But let me know, folks, how your team has been kind of like performing. Is there anything that you feel that they're missing? Because obviously then now's like their chance really to kind of say, right, let's get a bit of business in and obviously take it from there. But take it easy all. Hopefully you enjoy this, as I said. Hopefully you enjoy the nice weather lip, as I said. Hopefully your teams maybe do better this weekend. Take it easy all. Thanks for listening, and I will catch you all later.